With the second season of Undone, we were ready to go with all 8 scripts.
So we were aiming to start production in spring of 2020.
Early March, we had hired the entire crew.
Storyboarding and then doing an animatic and doing design work for all our locations and also previs and knowing all of our angles and our breakdowns and shot lists and scheduling. And then
something happened. I think involving Tom Hanks.
Who's one of America's beloved celebrities, obviously. With coronavirus, wow, this could hit anybody.
Schools, work, even iconic institutions like Broadway and Disney World are shut down, not to mention the emotional toll it's taking on a nervous nation.
The entire world just was standing still. No one really knew what was going to happen, and the thought of making a production was a difficult thing to wrap our heads around when we didn't even know what was going to happen the next day.
But there was, just this weird tension of, will life ever be the same? When will that be?
When the pandemic really just shut everything down, I thought to myself, well, our job as actors is like, okay, well, we're done until this is over.
At first, there was a lot of phone conversations. Are we still doing this in a couple weeks?
It definitely took a lot longer than that to figure out the best way to do this.
The challenge of figuring out a way to do this had the added pressure of knowing that if we didn't, not only could the show potentially not continue, but people were going to lose their jobs.
People are passionate about telling a story. They're going to find a way to tell that story.
Everybody had the same reaction. Let's figure this out.
One of the things I like about American culture is that you see it as challenges. So we're going to do it anyhow. And I think you infected me with that disease, like the optimistic disease.
We started talking about season 2 of Undone, and that gave me a lot of hope.
We were just spitballing. And I remember the executives and the producers would come to my team and they'd be like, we're trying to figure this out.
The first step was let's do some animation tests. Let's see what we can do.
Crazy idea 1 was, could we actually send microphones and cameras to the actors' homes and direct them remotely?
Maybe we just shoot their faces and add them onto animated bodies.
We talked about having our DP go to some of our actors' houses and film them through windows of their houses.
Maybe we have people use their spouses or people that they live with as stand-ins.
It was some hearty brainstorming.
Undone is my favorite project to work on, as we all know. So when you said we're coming back, I was ready to do anything.
So one of the things we tried as a workaround was this motion capture test.
Hey, we want to take you to a random parking garage and outfit you with all kinds of weird nodes and light markers and a bicycle helmet with a selfie stick taped to the top of it with an iPhone attached to it.
So the end result was something that still gives me nightmares.
It always felt like, well, given the circumstances, this was the best show they could make. And I think we never wanted to settle for given the circumstances.
Sort of made the calculation that if we had 2 actors together and a very limited crew shooting it, that we could actually make this happen.
We figured out, well, you need somebody to operate the camera, you need somebody there for the lights and somebody for the sound, and that was pretty much all that we could afford.
Here's the thing, we were the first show to be greenlit, to go back into production during the pandemic.
We were forging this new uncharted territory.
And to help sort of set up the protocols to make shooting on set a reality again, and follow those protocols really strictly to make sure everyone was safe.
I can't imagine being on any other show than Undone during a pandemic.
All of our directors, writers, executives, everyone that we were used to having was not on stage with us. So it was all going to be via Zoom.
And we could set up some YouTube feeds directly connected to the cameras so we could have our own little virtual video village. Our director, Hisco, was in Amsterdam. So there was a time difference where he was trying to direct, and it was very late at night for him.
What I didn't want to disturb the whole rhythm of my family, so I went to a hotel. And there was a curfew here in Amsterdam, so I had to hide from the police to get to my hotel,
So our first day of shooting, it was pretty nuts.
It definitely felt like well, we're trying something.
Okay, well, I've taken the leap this far on this show, so let's just keep going.
There was a strange intimacy, even though we were separated by screens. Felt very connected.
We had 2 YouTube streams, A camera and B camera. And then we were calling the actors to give notes and feedback and talk through things on FaceTime.
Well, also, I had the script, the pages, and the storyboards, and the shooting schedule.
So many streams of information that are happening simultaneously, plus all the things we're tracking on our laptop.
We were just told we would be like basically alone in the soundstage, and they would be telling us what to do. And that seemed insane.
It was a crazy fucking plan. And I said, yeah, sure.
And most of the time, because we could only have 2 actors on set at first, they were working with mannequin heads on C-stands, which our director, Hisco, calls the puppets.
Dinner table where there's like a dummy head here, a dummy head here, a dummy, and I had to remember who everybody was. It just was.
Acting is fun when it's a challenge. So in this case, it was really a challenge. Boy, if we could pull this off, wouldn't that be something?
The crew is amongst the most nimble, able people that you are ever going to put together. They are by nature problem solvers.
We all clung to each other to try to be a safe pod so nobody got sick.
I think at the end of the day, if people felt relaxed about their health concerns, then they just did their job. And they did it really, really well.
I remember seeing the first edit and thinking, yeah, this is gonna work. I think this is gonna work.
You could see if you just watched the actors, it still made you cry.
I'm watching for it to be wrong because I assume it should be wrong. I mean, we should have made more slip-ups, but no, I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing a really a show that really came together.
And I know everyone on the production says it with a point of pride that we didn't just say we were going to do it. We did it. We delivered. There was no COVID infections. And that's, you could say, a little bit of luck, but that's a lot of hustle.
I just felt super, super safe, which is weird because nobody felt safe at that time.
When I watched season 2, when it was finished, I looked at it and I thought, wow, I would have not known that we shot this under these conditions. And I can't believe that we were able to pull it off.
It evolved tenfold from the first season, which I couldn't really wrap my head around, seeing as we were doing it in an even more complicated way, which is already a complicated process.
I think that's why this season is so beautiful. I think that's why Undone season 2 is so fraught with emotion, I think because of the way we shot it.
So even with all the complications and the weirdness, we were carried through by the enthusiasm of knowing, like, we're making something cool here, and we're making it in a way that is also very cool.
It made me really feel like there is a group mind on our show that really has worked together long enough to understand what this show is doing, and everyone is on board with elevating it to the best of its existence.